Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. I'm your host, Rick the Barkeep, bringing you episode 190 here at the Tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. So, the biggest news within the last 24 hours as of this recording is that it has been officially announced that we will begin a comic crossover between the Power Rangers and the Justice League. Yes, finally. Um, so this is obviously some big news. I'm going to go ahead and have a link in the description page to the article that I'm reading from and the information I'm getting for you guys to go ahead and take a look at yourself. And I want to take this as an opportunity to talk about how I like this idea, kind of what my hopes are for it, and really just kind of talk about comics in general with you guys, because here's the thing. Believe it or not, I don't read comic books. That's just not my thing. It's something I've never done. Most of my comic sources do come from Top of the Fourth Wall from Linkara. So anything I've learned about comic books probably in the last, 6, 7, 8 years, or however long he's been on, I've learned from that show. And the rest of my comic knowledge comes from cartoons, mainly from the Spider-Man animated series, the X-Men animated series, Justice League, and the Bruce Timm. Anything Bruce Timm has done, I've pretty much got knowledge from that. My knowledge of comic books is limited. I don't read them, except I have caught up on the Boom Studios Power Ranger comic. To which right now I have issue 0 and I have volume 1, which has issue 0 and the first 4 issues in there. That's about as far as I read. I'm probably going to have to wait till volume 2, comes out before I really catch up on that storyline. But yeah, my knowledge in comics is really limited to the cartoons I watched as a kid, what I've learned from atop the fourth wall, and of course anything from the comic movies, which of course, you know, that's the mainstream view of them, but I knew enough about Civil War going into Captain America Civil War to know kind of what was going on, what the general idea was, but I honestly had no idea at the end of Avengers that was Thanos. I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is and why people are freaking out, and I had to go home and Google that. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I am not the authority on comic books at all. But here's basically what we do know, that we are going to get a 6-issue monthly miniseries in which the Justice League and the Power Rangers do meet. The story seems to be based around the fact that Zack has been flung into an alternate universe, and that's where he ends up meeting our DC heroes. Now, the book is written by a man by the name of Tom Taylor, to which he's described as a New York Times best-selling writer. I don't know what that means nowadays. I think that used to mean something, but I don't know. I don't follow those things either. But the important thing about Tom Taylor, based on just a Google search and a couple of things I've done, is that he's written things in the past. He knows what he's doing, essentially. It doesn't seem like they gave this project to some up and coming guy or some guy who's never worked on comics before in other mediums. He's done things before. He did, according to the article, he did the Injustice Gods Among Us adaptation, and a Green Lantern Corps series is what is listed for him. So that's at least a positive thing. I don't know how people feel about Tom Taylor, but just based on what I know, that they gave it to an experienced guy, I like that. Because as I said about the Power Ranger movie coming out, I didn't like the fact initially that Dean Israelite was tasked to direct the movie because it's only his second feature film. So if they had gotten somebody here in the comics, where it's like this is his first major comic that he's writing, then I would be worrisome. But the fact that they got, I guess a seasoned veteran would be the best way to describe him in on this, that's great in there. They got a guy by the name of Stephen Byrne, I believe is how you pronounce it, who is doing the artwork on this. Now, I've looked up his artwork on a couple of things, and I like it. That seems to be kind of like the standard DC Comics things that we have nowadays, so that's great. No real issue there. Although I must admit, when I look at the photo that we have in the press release, here's the thing, is that So far, the Power Rangers Boom Studios comics I've been reading, they're pretty good. I really like it. There's actually characters, there's actually story that's going on, there's very little action. It's kind of what I want out of the show, to be quite honest. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's got a lot of the elements that I do like. The artwork is fine for what's going on, obviously. But when I look at this image, and you guys are looking at right now in the video, it looks very cartoony, which I know is an odd thing to go ahead and say. Obviously, it's closer to the style of the Power Ranger comic, the Boom Studio comic, as opposed to typical DC comics. And that's where I have a little bit of a concern. I know a lot of you guys say I nitpick and complain too much, but again, I'm just kind of worried about things here because in a world where Power Rangers meet the Justice League, I think the way it should be done is it should be done in the Justice League DC Comics animation style, as opposed to what we've got with the Boom Studios style. And again, there's nothing wrong with the Boom Studio style. It just seems that the implication is that it's going to be a lighter story. It's going to be something more accessible to a younger audience than I would say a mature audience. And I'm not going to make the point about, I'm not trying to go ahead and say that it should be blood and gore, or it should be cheesecake for the girls, or any of that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that that stuff is what's mature. I'm talking about the image of it, because if because as been made a point a number of times, if you get a comic, all you're going to see is the cover, and if the cover comes off with the Justice League and Power Rangers, if that doesn't sell you, then obviously the artwork's going to have to go ahead and sell you at some point. And to be more cartoony leads people to believe, maybe this is meant for a younger crowd and not an older crowd. Where, to be honest, reading the Boom Studio comics, that's not something I would necessarily have for a kid. That's accessible to them, but I can tell that that comic is written for an older audience. People in my age demographic, at least, given the context and what they're going over in there. So I'm just, the art style is okay. It just seems that based on the art style, readers might think it's meant for a younger audience, and I really hope it's not. I really hope this is going to be something that is geared towards an older audience, a little bit more of a mature audience. And when I'm looking through it right now, I don't know if this is going to be under the DC or the Boom imprint. It doesn't really stay here. Let me just kind of check. It's a crossover, and it's obviously got a DC writer, so I'm going to believe that it's probably going to be a DC comic line, where they get the normal monthly. It will be in the DC section as opposed to the Boom section, but I could be wrong. It doesn't say which imprint it's coming out of, but I would imagine it's probably coming out of the DC imprint, simply because that's probably going to sell more issues and get more people who read comics primarily interested in this Power Ranger story. I would also imagine it's probably going to be tied into the Boom Studios Power Ranger universe, which is fine. That universe, in essence, is pretty much starting out post Green with Evil, but things are significantly different. For those of you who haven't read the Boom Studio comics, I really haven't covered them too much, because only a few days ago I actually got a chance to read it, because I got a hold of the Volume 1 with all the stories in there. It takes place after Green with Evil Part 5, and where we pick up basically the team trying to cope with Tommy being a Ranger. It's significantly different in that they don't immediately accept him onto the team, that there is some distrust there from some of the Rangers, because, heck, they don't really know if they can trust Tommy and what really happened with Rita. It is skewed more towards an adult audience, I would say, again, because of the context they go through. They do talk about Kimberly's problems with her parents. They do talk about the trust issues that Zach has with Tommy. They do talk about the rivalry between Jason and Tommy, which here is a lot more natural than we ever saw on the show, I believe. So there are a number of things that are different. Not to mention, it's not a period piece. It's not an alternate 1993, or these are how events would turn out differently. It doesn't do that. It's saying, what if Power Rangers took place today, and we still had those same teenagers. So it's similar to what the new feature film is doing, and of course that's obvious from the first from issue 0, because it does talk about Billy sending out stuff on the emails, push notifications, things again you didn't have in the 90s. So we're once again going that route. It does take place in modern day, which again is fine for the story that they're telling. And again, this story that they're telling here, obviously Tommy's in the Green Ranger, so I don't know where this is going to place within the continuity, whether the story arc that's going on now in the Boom comics is going to be resolved by the time we get here, because this thing's coming out in January, so that's 2 or 3 months from now, in which we're going to get it. So I have no idea where the story is going to be at that point for the Boom Studios, but I would like them to at least tell us, when we get the comic, this takes place between issues whatever and whatever. At least where I left off in issue 4, I believe there was something going on, which makes them meeting up with the Justice League a little problematic. Okay, so that's pretty much what I'm getting here. There's another thing to talk about multiple covers, and can I just take a brief moment to talk about the multiple covers for the Power Ranger Boom comics? Why the hell do we have 12, 13, 15 different covers for a single comic? Why can't there just be one cover for the comic? I have an issue actually trying to get hold of these comics because I'm living in Japan right now. Believe it or not, they want to charge me like $20-30 to ship a $9 comic, or I don't even know if it's $9. It's probably maybe a little bit less. They want to charge me $20-30 to ship it to Japan. What? I don't get that. So the reason I have actually been keeping up with it is the fact of my location, and I was able to get the volume 1 off of Amazon, and they gave me, I think it was like $2 shipping, or maybe less than that. I had bundled with another item. So it was really cheap for me to go ahead and get it there. But I got issue 0 when it came out, and I actually had my parents had actually mailed that to me by accident. I had sent to my home, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to pick this up when I get done my tour here in Japan, and I'll read it then." But no, they sent it with all my other mail over here. I was like, "Well, I just send the darn comic." But I got the Trini cover for obvious reasons. But every time I try to get a comic now from the Boom website, why is there a comic cover that's $50? I mean, the story is the same, right? But the cover is a $50 cover? Why can't I just get the standard cover? And the weird thing is, like, some of the covers are, like, sold out. Like, they're sold out of the Green Ranger variant cover or the action figure variant cover. So you have to get this cheap one. I think I did try to get the first or second issue in the same way, just have it shipped to my parents' house. And the only one that was available was a blank cover. It was like just had the Power Ranger logo and it was blank, just pure white. And it said get a sketch at the bottom, and I just kind of thought, okay, so is this just like a placeholder, like they haven't come up with the cover art or something? And I got it because it was the cheapest, like it was like $3 or something. Come to find out, it's a blank cover. There's actually nothing on there. As somebody had informed me after I got it, is like, yeah, the gift sketch is you take it to a convention, or you meet up with the artist, or you mail it to them, and they'll draw something on there for you, and it's like a little keepsake souvenir. I was like, oh, well, that's nice. But why don't I just bring a piece of paper for something like that? Why did I pay $3 for a blank cover? And again, why is anybody going to be paying $50 for a variant cover with the Dragon Zord on it? And the weird thing is, like, the standard covers, they sell out quick on the Boom website. But again, just make one damn cover. If you want to do like a reprint later on with a special cover, go ahead and do it. At least with the Volume 1, it has all the different covers printed in there, as bumpers, and you can take a look at them. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent here, but geez, why do we have to have so many covers for one damn story? The Killing Joke at least has one cover for its story. Obviously, in the trade, I have no idea about the original comics, but I really doubt that any. I mean, okay, somebody please answer this for me. When you go out to buy a Justice League book, whatever it is, Justice League 14 or whatever it is with their counting system, are there 17 different covers for you to choose from, or do you just have the one cover to go ahead and choose from? I mean, I get with issue 0, they had the different variants with the helmets, and it's like a special issue, I guess, and you can get your favorite Ranger, but of course, everybody gets the Green Ranger, but whatever. But every comic after that, I don't know why I have to pay $50 for a comic cover. Not that I'm going to. I just want the standard, but I don't want the cheapest to be a blank cover. Just make the standard the cheapest. And if you want something special, then yeah, go ahead and pay extra. But can we just have one? Really? Please? Just one cover. That's all I ask. I just want one cover there. And I hope they really don't do that because, again, if they go with the DC imprint, I'm hoping they won't do it. If they go with the Boom imprint, yeah, we had 15 different covers made up, so here you go. Choose your favorite. I don't know. It's just kind of a strange thing. Um, okay, so I talked about the news. I went on a little tantrum right there about the comic covers, but again, that's just my thing. Um, as far as what I would like to see in the story and what's happening, so this is the Power Rangers going over into the DC universe. Now, because there are so many different universes, I'm actually kind of curious where they're going in this, and um, basically which Earth are we going to? I mean, are we going to the Batman Beyond universe? Are we going to Earth 2, Earth 1? Are we going to the Soviet world? Superman Red Sun? I mean, where are we going? And again, I know they did the reboot with the New 52, and now they've rebooted again, now incorporating Watchmen to the main continuity. I believe I got that right. So, is this the main Justice League continuity that we're going into, or is this a continuity set just for the Power Rangers to meet them? And the reason I ask that question is, you know, if somebody said the Power Rangers were going to meet Batman, would it be more likely that they would go into the 66 Batman universe or they would go into the Killing Joke universe? And I bring that up because, again, it's about intent on what type of story we're going to go ahead and tell. Because if we're going to have the Power Rangers interacting with Batman this story, which is obvious, because he's part of the Justice League and they cannot meet Batman, what kind of Joker are we going up against? I mean, are we talking about Jack Nicholas Joker? Are we talking about Batman animated series Joker? Are we talking about Cesar Romero Joker? Are we talking about Arkhamverse Joker? Which Joker are they going to go ahead and meet? Because I really want to know what the tone of this comic is going to go ahead and be. Again, I think the Boom Studios comic is somewhere between the television show and the between modern television show or yeah the let me start over again. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up. The storyline they were covering in the Boom Studios comics right now for Power Rangers is somewhere between the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the tone of that series, and between the tone of probably a modern, Justice League comic that we're seeing. So, are we elevating the story to a more mature level? Are we going to, because that's what I'm wondering, are we going to make the Power Rangers fit into the DC universe, or are we making a DC universe that is more compatible for the Power Rangers? Because again, the Power Rangers will destroy a monster. They don't kill humans. That's something that rarely happens within the story. And even if it does, they're monstrous in some form. Trakina's kind of an example. She's not really human, but you get my point there. And, if they do meet up with Justice League villains, because again, it seems like the Rangers are going to the DC universe, what interpretation of Joker are we going to have? Are we going to have the trickster Joker? Are we going to have the gangster Joker? Or are we going to have the sadistic murderer Joker? Because I think that's significant, because the story is either going to be one of three things I see. The Power Rangers go to a mature DC Comics universe, and they're aghast at all the horrors that happen there and the stuff they have to deal with, and realize, hey, we got it pretty easy where we are. The Justice League coming to the Boom Studios universe, where it's like, man, this is corny and cheesy. There are absolutely no consequences for what happened here. What's it like to live in a world without consequences? Or is it going to be the third option, in which the Justice League team is in the same world of no consequences as our Power Ranger heroes? Because it's really hard to say, because imagine taking the original Power Rangers from the TV show and plopping them into the middle of Arkham City, basically. It's just such an odd juxtaposition. Frankly, something like that would be great, because you would see how the Rangers would adapt to a more dangerous environment, more mature storytelling. But it seems that they may just go safe here, and that the Justice League they're going to be, it's not going to be the primary Justice League that we have. It's going to be more watered down, I think, for possibly a younger audience, which I don't really want to go ahead and see. I want to see the Power Rangers come up to these threats where people do get killed, where the Joker is a sadistic maniac, where the stakes are always greater. Because for fighting villains like Lord Zed and Deviant and the Banshira and not Malagor, Dark Spectre and Mesogog and all those great threats, even Venjix, a lot of those villains are not the same as a Joker, a Lex Luthor, a Darkseid, any of those characters. They're just, as much as I want them to be, there's no way that you can make Rhea Repulsa like Darkseid. I mean, you could in the new continuity with the film, obviously, and they're obviously making Rita better in the comic version than it was on the television show, but still, I want to see the Rangers go up against those threats, against that dangerous peril. Can the Rangers really hold themselves against a Darkseid character? How do the Rangers react to a villain like the Joker? The Rangers have never met anybody like the Joker, ever, ever, ever. But again, it depends on what Joker they're going up against. Because again, if it's the Arkhamverse Joker, that's one thing. If it's the Dark Knight Joker, that's another. If it's the 1966 Batman Joker, then well, One Punch should go ahead and solve that entire problem. I just really want to see them kind of elevate Power Rangers up, but not bring the Justice League down. I want the Power Rangers to stand shoulder to shoulder with Batman, Superman as equals in a continuity where it is a little bit more mature. Again, it's in the prime continuity. Because if Jason meets Adam West Batman, which is not what's happening in this, obviously, but he meets Adam West Batman, it's not as interesting as Jason meeting, again, whoever the current Batman is, or Bruce Timm's Batman, Kevin Conroy Batman. It takes on a different significance. I mean, it's obvious these Rangers are going to be the Boom Studios, which are, I guess, they are better. Okay, I'll admit that they're a little bit better because they have more interesting character dynamics, or a little bit more complex. So I enjoy that aspect of it. I do want to see those Rangers meet the standard comic book heroes, to meet the standard Justice League. And, just to go off here, I'm actually glad it is the Justice League, because here's the thing, folks. Again, I don't read comics, but my sensibilities being raised the way I have, because again, I watch Batman, I watch Spider-Man, I watched all those shows. If there was a war between Marvel and DC and I had to pick sides, I'd go with DC. I just think that's where I would be, honestly. That's just kind of the end of the spectrum that I would fall on. Is it because there's Batman and Superman and Green Lantern and all that? Maybe. Is that the stuff that I'm just more comfortable with? Obviously. It's not to say I don't like the Marvel stuff. Again, I've watched all the movies, and of course I follow Luke Cage and all those other shows. Those are great, but I never did watch the Avengers cartoon or the Spectacular Spider-Man, wherever the hell these new shows are and stuff. But again, I just watch more of the Justice League stuff. So at the end of the day, I'm glad it is DC. DC is what I'm going to go ahead and choose. So yeah, better for the Power Rangers to meet the Justice League than to meet the Avengers, I think. I don't know. That just, it's better for me. That's something I can digest easily. But what I would love here's what I would love to go ahead and see. First, I'd love to see this sell well. Obviously, I'm going to buy it when I get a chance. Even if I have to ship it over here or just ship it home, I'm going to buy it regardless, because it's Power Rangers meet the Justice League. I mean, honestly, how can you screw that up? I mean, honestly, how can you screw that up? Yeah, guys, record that, and then you can throw it back in my face in about a year or two when Linkara does a top of the fourth wall with this crossover, and then we'll go ahead and talk. But honestly, I don't think we can really screw it up at this point with the crossover. Now, again, it's a 6-issue miniseries, so it'll be interesting to see that story. But the question is that where are we going to go from here? Because my understanding is that this is a temporary collaboration. This isn't something that's going to be permanent, although it could be. Power Rangers is still going to be with Boom Studios, but Boom Studios has done collaborations with other works, and who knows what the future of Boom Studios is going to be in comparison to, say, Marvel, DC, and I mean, I think Image is still going on, and I think in DC when they got the New 52, didn't they buy up like three or four other comic companies, which justified the Flashpoint paradox? Again, please let me know about that in the comments so I get a little bit more detail on that. But ultimately, what I would love to see out of this, other than a good story, is I would love to see the Power Rangers, not just the Boom Studio versions of them, but the Power Rangers universe absorbed into DC Comics. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, I'm not saying a complete corporate takeover of Boom Studios. That's not the point. I'm saying that you have you have the DC standard universe, Batman, Superman, all their characters. I want to see the Power Rangers as a normal fixture in DC Comics. I want to see it that when we tell a Justice League story, the Rangers are members of the Justice League. That Lothor will team up with the Joker. That Divatox will be a minion of Darkseid or something like that. Where I want to see Power Rangers and DC characters coexist. Because I'll tell you this, if the Power Rangers become official canon within DC Comics, where there's a mini-series and they're in event comics and all this other stuff, I will buy every comic they are in. I will start becoming a comic nerd. I will start reading comics all the time just to see the Power Rangers in the comics. To me, having the Power Rangers in there is enough justification for that to go ahead and happen. I would love to see the Power Rangers migrate from Boom, which again is fine. I like it where it is. It's got its own contained universe. But I want to see the Power Rangers become a staple of the Justice League. I want the, when Darkseid is attacking the Earth or Starro's having an invasion, then in addition to calling Cyborg and Aquaman and all those other characters, that the Power Rangers will also be there. So that while Batman's doing his detective work in Gotham City, in Angel Grove, we have the Power Rangers doing their thing. We have them doing their thing in Silver Hills and Turtle Cove and every place else, Amber Beach, that Power Rangers is absorbed into the DC universe that way. Now, again, I don't know how that's going to work with the companies because it seems Boom is firmly entrenched, but this could be so good that they will start future collaborations, or DC could honestly just buy the rights to Power Rangers from Saban when there's negotiations or contract time. Or heck, they could buy Boom. I don't know what the politics of that would go ahead and be, but it wouldn't be beyond the realm of imagination that you can take the Power Rangers and put them into the DC universe as comic characters. Now, again, I like the entire Power Rangers canon to be thrown in there, but if we just went from the Mighty Morphin from where we are right now in the comics, that's fine too. Let's transpose them in there, and then again, I will pick up the next major DC event comic or miniseries or whatever as long as Power Rangers are in there. Because, guys, Power Rangers fighting alongside Batman, that would be freaking awesome. And actually, I do want to bring up this point really quick because it's kind of an odd thing. Uh, I forget the episode that it's in, but I want to say it's either Happy Birthday Zach or it is the Pineapple Clown episode. Okay, I'm blanking on it. I'll get out my DVD later and I'll probably figure out the right episode. But there's a scene where this is where the Power Rangers are first introduced and the world's getting used to them and stuff, and it might be Teamwork. Or High Five, excuse me, it might be High Five. But Ernie is saying to the Rangers that what the Power Rangers do for Angel Grove is what Batman does for Gotham City. Now, obviously, I think this line was thrown in there because at the time, Power Rangers was coming on after Batman the Animated Series. That's what you get. It would be Batman the Animated Series, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, and Power Rangers. That would be the kind of the pecking order. I forget. I think Batman was always first, though. I'm trying to remember back to the early 90s. Anyway, so the line was obviously thrown there as a cross promotion. It's like, yeah, Batman, that's another show that's on Fox Kids. Go ahead and watch it. But now that I actually look back to that, and I just wonder, could Ernie have been talking as in factual, as in literally Batman is protecting a real city that's Gotham City? That Batman actually exists in the Power Rangers universe. That there is a Power Rangers version of Batman in Power Rangers. I mean, think about that for a second, guys, because we have the Ninja Turtles. obviously we have, the next mutation is part of Power Rangers canon, and then, who knows what's going on with the Beetleborgs and VR Troopers and the Mystic Knights. They could all be happening at the same time, but could you imagine a Power Rangers universe where there is a Batman Gotham City? And again, is there a Superman? Is there a Wonder Woman? Power Rangers could be existing in a universe where those characters already do exist. Obviously, things would be significantly different, but it's just some food for thought. And I guess the last thing to mention here is that we know for a time that Marvel was involved with both Power Rangers and Sentai. We know Marvel was influential in coming up with the concepts for Battle Fever J, developing them into what was supposed to be a Captain American show based off the Spider-Man thing, and Stan Lee tried to get Sun Vulcan to Earth. So a lot of Power Rangers history, or excuse me, try to get Sun Vulcan to the United States, not to Earth. But Marvel's has significant portion of Power Rangers history in it. If it wasn't for Marvel, we wouldn't, of course, have Power Rangers. I think would be the honest thing to go ahead and say. And then when we look at the comics Power Rangers did have, they were under Marvel imprints, but Power Rangers were never, ever thrown in there with Spider-Man and Captain America and Iron Man or any of those characters. I don't know why that never took place, because again, I would have been a comics fan even then, and I would have started reading every Marvel comic I would have got my hands on because of the Power Rangers. Because I did have a couple of those comics. Primarily, I did have the movie comic, and I had another one to which I can't remember. I honestly don't remember anything about it. I'll have to look that up for you guys. But nothing ever really came of the Power Rangers being in Marvel's hands. And much in the same way as Disney, is that nothing ever came significant to Disney owning the Power Rangers. Nothing significant came of Marvel owning the Power Rangers, but I think there is so much potential here, given the circumstances surrounding what's happening, for the Power Rangers to be significant or have something significant happen to them in the hands of DC. Now, again, to clarify, they're not in the hands of DC. They're being outsourced, if you will, to DC to make this one particular story. But who knows where this can go from here? It's not going to change the television show. It's not going to change the feature films, I think. But man, if DC can get a hold of the Power Rangers full time and have them part of the Justice League, part of the comics, you have no idea where that can go in the future. I mean, I know they're making Justice League movies now. Power Rangers making their movies parallel to that. But man, could you imagine sometime in the future, 10, 15 years from now, or something like that, where the Power Rangers are synonymous with the Justice League? And then when people talk about another Justice League reboot movie, whatever, it's like, are they going to feature the Power Rangers in this one? What's going on, Um, I just love the idea. There's so many opportunities out here. I hope that they do it right, that they treat it properly. Because, again, don't bring down Justice League to tell a story that's what you think is in line with Power Rangers. I think you need to elevate Power Rangers to the level of the Justice League, whatever that means contextually with the story. Because, again, we have different interpretations of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, so forth. I say put these Power Rangers on the same level as your standard. This is what the prime continuity is, the Earth 1 continuity, I think is what it's called. And have the Rangers exist on that level, as opposed to bringing them down, bring the Justice League down to a Boom Studios or a 66 Batman type of level. Because I've been trying to explain this for a long time. We need Power Rangers to be more mature. The TV show needs to work on that. The movie seems to be working in that direction, and the Boom Studios comics are obviously taking steps to do that. But with this collaboration with DC, we can take bigger strides to really get Power Rangers in that same conversation where, because when people talk about this, it's like, who's the greatest superhero of all time? Oh, Batman. Oh, Superman. Oh, Captain America. Iron Man. I say it's the Power Rangers. And then the reaction is, ha ha ha! That's the reaction people have. Because for some reason, you can't put Batman, Superman, the Power Rangers all on the same level. They're just not equal, apparently. What? Really? Huh? What? Because apparently people think that Squirrel Girl is more deserving of attention and praise and recognition than the Power Rangers are. I don't know where we got to that in terms of a society where if the Power Rangers are laughing stocks of the superhero community, and yet I don't know. I really can't think of a comparison there. I mean, do you guys remember? I think it was somebody on YouTube had like too many superheroes, and it had like them forming the Avengers with the Rocketeer and Super Grover from Sesame Street, and basically saying you're not a real superhero. You know, you're not on the same level with these guys. And I kind of think that's what's going on with the Power Rangers. Is people are saying the Power Rangers are not on the same level as the Justice League or as the Avengers. You know, but I honestly do think they are, and this comic could go a long way to say yes, they are on the same level. Superman is equal to Jason, Batman is equal to Trini, Wonder Woman's equal to Kimberly, so forth and so forth. That is what I'm looking at here. And this is a great step in a good direction. They just need to do it right. You need to shed that Power Rangers is for little kids. This whole thing is meant to sell toys because they are not writing these comics to sell toys, folks. They're writing them to sell comics. And what do you do to sell comics? Because they're stories, visual stories, you tell good stories. So again, I want to see great story potential come out of this. And I know they can have great story potential out of this because it's DC. They do make good stories from time to time, you know? And it seems to be the regular as opposed to, again, I hope Tom Taylor recognizes and respects Power Rangers enough that he writes a good story incorporating both teams as equals and elevates Power Rangers to a higher level. That's ultimately what I want to go ahead and say here. Okay, so I've talked long enough on this topic. What do you guys think? What do you think about this collaboration between DC and Boom? Power Rangers going into the Justice League universe, vice versa. What do you think is going to happen? What do you want to see happen? Just general thoughts. Leave them in the comments below and let me know. Otherwise, I want to thank you guys for listening. Have a good evening, and the tavern is now closed.